Revenge is sweet, but the manner of the crushing 7-1 win by New Zealand over the US boat made it even sweeter.
You know, as a Kiwi growing up back home, you know, watching our country compete for the America's Cup, and you know, to be able to do that at a pretty young age and to bring it back home was, you know, just an unreal feeling.
4 years ago, Grant Dalton's team let an 8-1 lead against the same opposition slip to a 9-8 loss. Widely regarded as one of the greatest comebacks in sporting history, the losers returned home humiliated. The New Zealand syndicate brought in new crew and raised funding for a fresh campaign aimed at righting the wrongs of 2013, but it was a bumpy ride.
And 2 years ago, you know, we were basically dead. So to think outside the square, to create a boat that was revolutionary in some ways in its thinking, and then to sail it properly and be so devastating is something that makes me immensely proud.
But over those 2 years, the new crew and technology galvanised, and the boat peaked at exactly the right time in Bermuda.
To come here and actually pull off almost the unbelievable, if you like, is just an amazing feeling, and you know, I think there's definitely a highlight of my sailing career to date, no question.
Just an incredible nation, and pretty impressive that they've been able to pull it off again. And all I can do is just say, you know, massive respect to the entire team, and the better team won.
There were probably a few doubts in the Kiwi boat, even at 6-1 up after their San Francisco capitulation, but Team New Zealand were never going to be denied their resounding redemption.
Well, someone who got to enjoy the action firsthand is America's Cup sailing commentator Ali Eykyn. We caught up with him a little earlier and started off by asking whether it was the skill of the Kiwis, a lackluster US performance, or even the technology that gave New Zealand the upper hand.
I think it's probably a combination of the three. The Kiwis were just so consistent, so reliable. They had a really good system to the point where Peter Burling, who was the helmsman, was not dictating everything that happened on that boat. Glenn Ashby was a really, really key member of it. So too Blair Tuke. They'd managed to basically distribute their responsibilities in a really effective fashion. And the Americans, whatever they'd been doing in the 2-week period while everybody else was fighting through the Challenger playoffs, just had not found the boat speed. They got off on the wrong foot, they were too slow, and then the recovery time was too quick to turn it around. I think 2013 was a huge motivation, particularly for Glenn Ashby, the skipper, because, of course, he'd been on board in San Francisco. He'd suffered that humiliation and the heartache from 2013. So it really mattered to him. I think it mattered to a lot of people on the shore team, those in the sheds who were helping put the boat back together after that dramatic capsize, of course. All the people as part of the management team, they were desperate to right the wrongs of San Francisco, and they did it emphatically. I mean, in the end, it wasn't really that competitive, which was a shame in some respects, because the event to that point had seen some very, very tight sailing, close races, close finishes, but the match itself was not all that competitive at the end of the day. Well, I think it's huge from their perspective because they very much did their own thing in the build-up to the America's Cup. They spent a long time training on their own. Several teams came out to Bermuda early and they raced against each other. They were part of the tech battle, the design battle, if you like, on the water, out there on site from 6 months, 7 months, even 2 years previously. The Kiwis did their own thing in New Zealand and it worked for them. They kept themselves away from the pack. They've been described as the lone wolf. They like to do things their own way. Very, very innovative. They had a different system and setup, of course, with the side claws over and above the traditional grinders. And it worked for them. They had a kind of them against us mentality, and they came out and they executed their plan almost to perfection with a few little hiccups along the way. We all recognise what a key part sport plays in a New Zealand society. We see it, don't we, with the All Blacks and their complete obsession. It's like a religion down there. They are a long way from too many other places on the planet. And I think in some respects, their national identity revolves around sport and their prowess in it. And it doesn't matter really what that sport is. They have a tremendous record in rugby. They have a very, very proud traditional, historic background in sailing. Of course, 2 islands surrounded by water. Water sports are everything to a number of different Kiwis who live down there. So I think the government reckons that maybe it's money well spent. They get a serious kickback in the economy if the sporting teams are doing well. Believe it or not, that's the way it works. Sometimes when the All Blacks lose, there is, we're not quite talking about the recession kicking in, but it isn't too far shy of it because national morale is lifted when they win. And I think it's really, really important to everything that they do down there.